Hello and welcome to a very special 150th episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and we're joined by my dog Neila tonight. Neila won't have much to say, but she's here for our therapy. As the Steelers lost today, and it was ugly. So let's just go right into that, Jay.
Yes. Well, I said last week I wanted to see Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
And he came in and looked competent, threw a touchdown, then got hurt, and then the Duck was back in, and the Duck looked featherless again, sadly.
Yeah. The Duck just doesn't have the arm strength to play in the NFL.
No.
I think he's competitive. I think he tries his best. I just don't think he has the arm strength to do it. So really puts Tennessee in the driver's seat for that last playoff spot in the AFC.
Yes. As of right now, according to ESPN, the Tennessee Titans are in the sixth spot.
Yeah, and I think if they both win next week, if the Steelers win and they lose,
Steelers are in.
Then the Steelers are in. But I don't see that happening.
And if they both win, the Titans are in?
Yep.
So it's pretty much Titans win and they're in.
Titans win and they're in.
And this was the Steelers. I mean, I can't imagine that we're going to see a lot of Lamar Jackson next week in the Steelers game.
Yeah, I hope not.
I mean, he's your one ticket if you're Baltimore to the Super Bowl. So I can't imagine you're going to play him too much against a team that can hit. And
yeah, I would not want to have him playing against Bud Dupree and T.J. Watt and the other guys.
No. The Steelers and Ravens have a pretty nasty history. And although I do like to think there's some mutual respect, a lot of it's just mutual hatred. And I wouldn't want to put him on the line. I mean, I know you don't want to be rusty because they do have the bye week. So they'd be off for 2 straight weeks without any reps if they rest him.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Steelers and the Ravens always play really late in the year. And they're both usually playoff teams. And they just kill each other.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well, technically, the Patriots have to play the Dolphins next week, so it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So I saw yesterday that the Patriots now have won the division 11 times in a row.
Yes.
And here's my question to our listeners. In those 11 years, how many other teams from the AFC East made the playoffs in any given year? What is the total? So in 11 years, how many other AFC teams have even made the playoffs?
Well, the Jets were frisky for a tiny, tiny bit with the butt fumble, Mark Sanchez. And I want to say that the Dolphins made it 1 year. Maybe the Ronnie Brown.
I know the Bills made it 3 years ago and made it again this year.
Yeah. But
so I would say in 11 years, my over-under would be 7.
But none of those teams, even when the Jets were good, and I know they made a few AFC Championship games, but that seemed kind of fluky. They were never the Ravens to the Steelers or the Steelers to the Ravens and vice versa.
No. So, I don't know. I'm with you. I think Baltimore's the better team, but I will not pick against the Patriots. I've learned my lesson.
So as of right now, if the playoffs started today, in week 1, Buffalo would play at Kansas City.
And I would take Kansas City.
And the winner of the Titans-Steelers would go to Houston.
And that would be the 3rd time the Titans...
Actually, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Pittsburgh, Tennessee would go to Kansas City as of right now.
Okay, and I would say I still take Kansas City there. And then Buffalo against...
Houston.
And I might be tempted to take Buffalo there.
That's a little more interesting.
That's a very interesting game.
So then we would have Kansas City at New England. And I hate to say it, but I would pick the Patriots.
If it's in New England, I'm rooting against the Patriots, but I'm not picking against the Patriots. There's no way.
And I think it's going to come down to New England in Baltimore in the AFC.
I agree.
Which is a nightmare scenario for us, as that's technically the 2 most disliked teams that we have. One more of a rivalry because they're in the division, and one because of the Patriots. But if I had to put money on it, which sometimes people do, I can't bet against the Patriots.
If it's New England
in Baltimore
is the only way I would take Baltimore in that game.
I don't think, because Baltimore right now, as of right now, I think they've clinched home field.
They have.
So it would have to be New England at Baltimore unless Baltimore loses to the winner of Houston-Buffalo. And as of right now, there's only one spot open, and the game's being played currently in the NFC.
And that's Dallas and Philadelphia.
So right now, Minnesota would go play Minnesota would play Green Bay again, and that game could go either way because right now Green Bay is 11-3, Minnesota's 10-4. So depending on who wins tonight, could affect on who's going to win the next one. But those two are going to play again in the first round, and I have no idea in those games. I mean, I guess Dalvin Cook's health matters a little bit because I still don't know if Green Bay is good. I know that's a stupid thing to say, but I don't. I know they've won 11 games, but they just don't look scary to me, you know?
No. And with Dalvin Cook out, that's a lot.
And then the 11-3 Seattle Seahawks would have to go to either Dallas or Philadelphia. And I would like the Seahawks in those games on a personal note. And then waiting in the wings, of course, would be San Francisco, who squeaked out another one, and the New Orleans Saints, who we just watched defeat the Titans in pretty impressive fashion. With a special shout out to Michael. Why did I just blank on his name? He just broke the record for most receptions in a season, previously held by Marvin Harrison. And, Michael Thomas. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot Michael Thomas's name. I said it like 50 times today when I was talking to you. But it looks pretty good. And if you hear a little bit in the background, we have some weird offbeat background noise. It should disappear shortly, I'm hoping.
I said I want to keep track of the Philadelphia-Dallas game while we're doing the show.
Okay. So right now, if you had to pick a Super Bowl.
If I had to pick a Super Bowl right now, my pick is going to be Baltimore, New Orleans.
I think, obviously, currently I'm in Florida at the house. That's why hopefully the audio would be a tiny bit better. We're in the same room for the first time in a while. I think I would pick New Orleans in the NFC, but I just feel like I've been burned too many times. I just can't pick against the Patriots.
Okay, so you're going to go New England, New Orleans. I'm going to go New Orleans, Baltimore. Who do we feel is going to win the Super Bowl?
Again, I feel like I've been abused by the Patriots my entire life, and I can't pick against them. I don't know what it is. Every time you think they're gone, every time you think that the other teams are better, I mean, people think that they're pouring dirt on them right now, and they're the number 2 seed.
Yeah, I know.
And, they still have Belichick. They've got, the best cornerback in football, an excellent secondary, really good defense. And despite the lack of playmakers, and despite Brady looking, I guess, very human at times looking his age, I just can't bring myself to pick against them. They look phenomenal. And again, another cheating scandal rubs right off of them, No big deal.
On that note, do you think they cheated deliberately?
Oh, yeah.
I do too.
I don't think it would have made that big a difference because I think a lot of what the Patriots did,
we talked about it last week. It is like Watergate. You don't need to, but you do because you can't take any chance at all that it won't work out your way.
No. And I think that is Belichick to a T. And again, maybe when he said, well, it would have helped us out 1%. Maybe it helped you out 1%. Now, when they say that you bugged the locker room and you've knocked out communication with people's audio in the stadium and you tape people's walkthroughs before the Super Bowl and they seem to be in your backfield, I do believe all that too.
Agreed.
Now, again, I know famously the Steelers of the 70s, there was some performance-enhancing thing that was around the NFL, so nobody's ever 100% clean. So they still get all their wins, but,
Is Lamar Jackson your MVP?
Oh, I think hands down. I think he's earned it on the field, and I think he's got the story to go with it. I would say, and I've heard a few people, I know Ryan Russillo and I think Jason Whitlock have both pointed this out, there wasn't that many people saying he shouldn't be a quarterback. You know,
No.
it was the guy from the Colts and I think Booger McFarland are like the two most famous people that said it. And, I mean, it's nice that you can use that, nobody believed in me thing, but he still was a first round pick. And 99% of the NFL seemed to think he'd be a good quarterback. So, the Patriots were a team that we're interested in, for instance. So I think some of the narrative is just, it sounds a lot better if you're writing the story and you're like, people thought he shouldn't even be a quarterback. He should have been a running back or a wide receiver. And even if that's for a personnel guy that no longer works for the Colts and one old defensive player. But it does make the story better, and it makes the Lamar Jackson narrative better. So I think he's got the narrative.
It's fair to say that no matter where you line him up, he's a game changer.
He's a game changer.
There's nobody. I mean, he's like. I see the comparisons to Michael Vick, except this guy's a beast. Michael Vick wasn't that big.
No, Michael Vick was pretty frail. And I do notice, I did hear another story that his mom, I think, is his representative. And he comes from a very sort of religious background. Not that I'm, but that was sort of one thing that scared away a few teams in the first round. Was less his on the field and more his, some weird religious things along with having his mom as his representative.
So I would compare him to Bo Jackson.
Okay.
I mean, the power and the speed. I've never seen Lamar Jackson. I mean, the power, the speed, and the moves. I mean, he's got the power. And I'm not saying he's Barry Sanders, but he's damn close.
He's very tricky within the field. And I would also say he's been really good about not taking. I mean, he does take a few hits that he probably could avoid in his attempt to make more plays, run the ball, which is fantastic. But he does do a good job avoiding hits. Not on the Russell Wilson level, but for a guy that runs as often as he does a great job of not getting hit.
I'd say he's been amazing this year. Absolutely amazing. As I was going to give a shout out to Drew Brees after his game last week, too. 29 out of 30 and the most touchdown passes ever. And I bet you the Chargers are thinking, yeah, we made the bad decision there.
Yeah. But he had the weird injury that even Miami, granted the Dolphins aren't exactly the model franchise, but they looked at him and they were afraid based on, his shoulder injury. He's a smaller, slighter guy. Mm-hmm. And since he's come to New Orleans, it has not been an issue at all. But it is currently. So that's something, And as long as we're talking MVPs, you got to look at the ever consistent Northeastern or Northwestern recipient, the guy up there, Russell Wilson, who's had a phenomenal season. And the Seahawks are 11-3. Doesn't turn the ball over. Plays great football. And
his team's always in it with him a quarterback.
And he just sort of goes under the radar a little bit, I think. And we just watched the replay of the Steelers' loss again. So, but again, considering they had, a pretty rough year from a personnel standpoint, the fact that they could finish 8-8 at the worst is pretty
with virtually no offense.
And not only did they start, Mason Rudolph, who knows what he is moving forward, but half the season it was an undrafted rookie out of Samford who wasn't even invited to the combine. Who, as much as we love the Duck and the Duck story, and I think I shouted for him here because I thought he looks like a quarterback because he's got the confidence and the know-how, but as you pointed out earlier, the arm is not there.
The arm's not there.
And I don't know if I don't think you can really make your arm that much stronger.
I don't think so. Let's switch and talk about the NBA for a while.
Yes, let's do.
And I'm remembering my preseason pick of Luka in the MVP conversation, and I think he has not disappointed. I think he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, up until the ankle injury. We've been without him for 2 weeks. But in a weird way, that's almost been great because Porzingis has started to look like Porzingis again.
Yeah, he has.
And it's allowed him to maybe step up, get his confidence back. Because I think he and Luka are going to be great together. I think he just, I think it's been a positive for Porzingis in a weird way. And they currently sit in the 5th seed in the heavyweight in the West,
and they really did it without tanking.
Yeah. Well, Cuban does not like to tank. That's not his. That's not his jam.
No, but that team's an interesting team. You know, we're almost at Christmas. The big, really, what people really call the start of the NBA season is the big all day Christmas day.
But last week we had the game with the best team in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, versus the best team in the West, the LA Lakers. And the Bucks rolled.
Yeah.
Giannis hit 5 of 8 from 3-point range. And he brings it every night.
And the Bucks have a very deep team.
A very deep team. But, you know, I think because they came in around the same time, when you look at two guys that couldn't shoot, one being Ben Simmons and one being Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis seems like he's done everything he can, and he's taken, 40-something threes in the last 20 games. Like, he's proving to be a threat.
He's becoming confident in his shot.
Becoming confident in his shot. He's working with Kyle Korver, who, if you're going to get taught by a current NBA player, not a bad one to work with.
No, not at all. A good three-point shooter.
But, and again, I think, I'm sure analytics would argue with me, but I feel like he's doing three-pointers in the right way. He's doing them just enough that you have to respect him, but he's not just sitting out there shooting threes all day.
No. And if you come out on him and try and face up on him, he has the speed to go right by you.
And the power, and he will go right by you and dunk all over you, posterize you. Whereas Joel Embiid should do a lot more of that and a lot less three-point shooting. It's great that he can step out and do that, but not everything should be out there.
Another player I've been very impressed with this year is John Morant. He's very slight, but he's very explosive.
And he's trying to posterize everybody he plays against. Going up, dunking. And right now, he was supposedly the dark horse with Zion supposed to just run away with Rookie of the Year, but Zion has not stepped on the basketball court.
Yeah. Now I think John Morant still is.
I think so. And now, as someone that, as everybody likes Zion a lot. He had, millions of followers in high school. Got even more at Duke. Seems like a lovable guy, but we just really hope he gets on the floor.
Yeah. I think it's just taking a lot longer than anybody thought. This is 2 full months of the NBA season, just about.
Yeah. And he is a very uniquely built person for the game of basketball.
He is. He reminds me of somebody really, the old school player, Wes Unseld, very strong, but he has much better offensive game than Wes Unseld. Reminds me a little bit of Barkley. But he's got a great game. And when he gets on the court, hopefully we'll see some amazing things. I feel bad for that franchise. Everybody's excited in New Orleans and sold a lot of tickets and everything, and their guy hasn't even been on the court yet.
No, and the rest of the team has gotten to the point now where, Drew Holiday is being mentioned in trade rumors. I'm sure you could have Lonzo Ball if you offered something for him. And it seems like they want to move forward with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, assuming they can both sign them and stay healthy. But yeah, I picked them, I think, to finish definitely in the playoffs. And I don't think they're not even close right now. So it's very sad.
Yeah, it's been very disappointing.
But now that we're on the same lines, like last year, when we think about I know there's been a lot of doom and gloom, and I don't think it's anywhere near this close, but you look at the draft this year. Last year you had Zion Williamson, who went to Duke. Everybody wanted to watch him. You had people rooting for Duke, and Duke is one of those teams like the Patriots, like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Lakers, that people either love them or love to hate them. But people like Zion so much, they were rooting for Zion. They were watching Zion games. They were excited to watch Duke basketball. And in this year's draft, your potential number 1 picks. One guy is in Australia. Ball is also not in the NBA. And the big kid at Memphis just decided he's not going back to school.
Yeah, so you won't get a chance to see him unless he opts to sign with a G League team, which I guess he could do.
Right. And as G League becomes bigger, do you think it's... I know March Madness is a tough tournament to tackle with, but now that there's like who are you excited to watch if you're not a college basketball person right now? Like last year, Zion was the zeitgeist guy. He was the guy that even if you didn't know college basketball, you probably knew Zion Williamson. He was somebody that could bring in the casual viewer.
I'm not aware of anybody this year.
Right. I mean, and that's not to knock any of the players playing right now. There's some really good players.
Nobody's it's still, but you know what? In defense, I mean, you and I talked about this earlier. It's kind of hard to believe it's college basketball because you're not really in the mood for it. There's still football going on, and until it goes, I mean, it's the football dominates, and you can find a couple of niche games that get some attention, but overall, it's not. Man, it's just not time. And when January kicks in, it's all about basketball and hockey.
But if you have a year right now where the top 3 players, only one of them might have played in the NCAA, and only for a short amount of time before he got busted for
3 games,
taking a loan to help his mom or something along those lines, when the NCAA is making all that money, like, can you see it becoming where more guys? I mean, if the G League becomes a much more viable thing,
if this legislation doesn't pass for players to get paid in college, and if the if the NBA decides to invest in the G League players and pay them real money, which right now they don't have to do because the bulk of their players are coming from college.
right?
And so you now have the G League players wanting to unionize to drive up their wages. But I think, what it's going to take is going to take a guy like this kid from Memphis and some other players to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go play in the G League. And then people start watching that and going to the games and everything else. And that makes an economic difference, so that would make a difference.
And obviously I know, like, not every kid is built to just take off and go play in Australia or one of the top European leagues for a year, despite the money they could get. Like, that's not something everybody is, like, not everybody can be a Kobe. Somebody that, Kobe didn't do it, but I mean, he easily could have, spoke the language, was very comfortable, who grew up around overseas. And, the average 18-year-old, 17-year-old probably isn't super comfortable. But if they, and then obviously people love to root for their school in the tournament.
And they like to root for the big upset.
And the big upset.
The David and Goliath.
And if it's, a G League tournament instead, it's hard to garner that tradition, that history.
Well, speaking of tournaments now, let's focus back on our NBA. Let's talk about a mid-season tournament where the winning team would guarantee $1 million per player. That's a lot of money for 2 weeks or 10 days, whatever it might be.
It is.
It might be very, very interesting. But I think if you do it team by team, I've not heard anything else but that. The teams would all enter into a round robin tournament.
Right.
You're still going to, is anybody going to surprise you and come up and win this because it's all this extra money? I mean, would like Portland be, would that be enough to get Portland to play really, really well? I don't know. And I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea.
And if you're a team, like, if you're the Lakers and you're LeBron James and you make more from that, like, not that $1 million, I mean, that would sound silly, but like to LeBron James, Anthony Davis, $1 million is not a lot of money.
No.
And they have farther reaching business interests, around the world, and obviously career goals involving NBA championships. Like, what is their incentive to put their, careers on? Like, what is the team incentive to win these NBA? Besides the money, which I know it sounds. I mean, $1 million would change the lives of almost everybody on the planet. But what is your incentive as a team to try and win this tournament?
And at the same time, it's going to be like the Olympics, where say you're the Lakers and LeBron goes in and plays this tournament and blows his knee out and is gone for the season.
Right.
Do you care that you won this mid-season tournament, or you rather be in it for the NBA championship? So you're going to get a lot of that feedback as well.
Like, what would be enough of incentive? Like, if they were like, the team that wins, everybody gets $1 million, and the 10th pick in the draft belongs to the team that wins the tournament. Like, I feel like there's got to be some sort of a strategic team advantage for actually winning the tournament, as opposed to just, or some side of giant cap relief. I don't know. I mean,
You get an extra first round pick.
right. There's got to be some, but it's got to be a word. Because I mean, again, if you're the Lakers and you're like, we get next first round picks, now we have the 32nd, the 33rd pick in the draft, or does that do it for you?
I don't know. It's interesting though.
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, from a fan perspective, a midseason tournament sounds like a lot of fun. From a gambling perspective, it'd be very interesting. I'm sure you get a lot of action on people excited.
Yeah.
But it's also trying to figure out everybody's motivations, who's playing, because again, if you're already the Lakers and you're you have the number one seed, you have a bit of an older team. Like, do you care? Would you rather be like, you know what? Let's go out in the first round. Let's lose.
Let's take a week off.
Let's take a week off, come back, practice, and come fresh for the regular season. Because that seems like, because our playoff bonuses and our finals checks and everything else is going to be a lot more than $1 million. So
It's a good way. It's an interesting way to look at it. I like that. I like that. Before we started the show, we were talking about Luka and Brandon Jordan.
yes, and because they basically said that since Jordan, no athlete. I mean, Kobe sold some shoes, obviously. Kyrie has some really awesome shoes. KD, Steph, like they all sell shoes, but nobody's been able to sell, anywhere close to, no one's even been able to come like, I don't even think in the conversation with Jordan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Luka, as both an international player, a young player, a very exciting player, I think with the right shoes, I feel like he's the kind of guy, and you hate to bring up race, but I mean, I'm sure race might be part of it.
You got a European player playing in the NBA wearing Brandon Jordan.
Yeah.
I think it's right because it positions Brandon Jordan really well globally and makes it even more of a luxury brand.
I mean, we saw Luka in Mexico speaking perfect Spanish to the crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if they weren't Luka fans, he spoke perfect Spanish, went out and balled out, played great in front of them. Like, he's one of the most exciting players in a long time.
He's very exciting. He's very creative. His offense is very creative. Like I said, he reminds me of like Larry Bird with speed.
Yeah, which is
pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
But I kind of think it's kind of cool, and I think it's a good move for Brandon Jordan. Then Brandon Jordan and Nike get even a bigger share, but the global audience is where you want to be, and he can captivate that. And again, he's a player that he's big, but he's not a freak.
No.
And so,
because they've always said big guys have trouble selling shoes because people don't.
Like Michael Jordan was 6'6", but he was still a guard. And a very flashy guard, and a guy that sold a lot of shoes. So I think Luka could do the same thing. I mean, he's very exciting. I mean, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson sold Converse and did very well with the weapons that they sold.
And again, I know it sounds silly, but people that play basketball casually, if you've been very fortunate that you've been able to give me tickets to see a lot of games, and I've been able to take people who've never seen games before. A lot of them are shocked at how big guards are, because in their mind they can't fathom how big. Yeah,
look at the court; they don't look very big.
No, but when they see them in person, they're like, oh my god. And I guess we should probably mention the team that right now would have the first pick in the draft, who traded Luka, the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
They got Trae Young. They got us exciting players, but they're 6-24 right now.
The star-crossed team. Always been.
Yeah. And I guess while we're here, the Clippers look like they're having the season we thought they were. A lot of rest and load management, but still the second best team in the West right now.
I think the Lakers have surprised me in how well immediately AD and LeBron have played together. Like I knew they were going to be good. I didn't think they'd be this good this fast. I thought it'd be a learning curve, but the Joseph period had been a learning curve.
Well, I didn't think LeBron was going to go this hard this season.
LeBron looks like LeBron 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, and he's not taking plays off like he's.
This is his shot. This is his dream. Then he would have won championships in 3 different markets, and more importantly, he would have been the guy to bring the Lakers back.
True.
first title in Cleveland, the big three in Miami, and then the guy to reimagine the Lakers. A lot to be said for that. That's pretty impressive. Those three accomplishments.
It's very true. Houston sitting at 20-9 right now. Harden having another nutso season. And it seems like he and Westbrook are not really fitting together all that well, though, I wouldn't say, in the games I've watched.
No, I don't think we ever expected them to really mesh. It just didn't make that trade. You and I both said at the time didn't make a lot of sense. But Oklahoma City needed somebody to take Westbrook on, and Houston needed another player to pair with Harden.
And they wanted off Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I think Charles Barkley has said this, and analytics guys don't seem to understand this point. They just look at Harden's usage rate and numbers, and they think he's the greatest player that's ever played basketball. But Barkley pointed out that he's a hard person to play with. He stalls the ball. He holds on to it. He's the all-offense. And,
it's hard to get a flow going.
It's hard to get a flow going if you're anybody but Harden. So I feel like for all the love he gets, I don't think he gets enough. It's a team game. And he's not doing much, I don't think, to help the team. And I know he's like, well, look at his assists. And it's like, yeah, he's got great assist numbers. That's fantastic. But I think he makes it hard for other people to play with him.
Yeah, he has the ball in his hand, 85% of the time?
Yeah. And there's so many possessions where it's him dribbling for 15 seconds and then putting up a three. Now, granted, he makes it, insane number of them, but, I don't know.
Well, we'll continue to monitor this in our NFL. I spent the week in New York. Sharon and I did our Broadway week. We saw 3 plays. We saw Oklahoma. We saw Come From Away. And we saw The Sound Inside. 3 really different plays. Oklahoma, traditional musical, one of the very first musicals, as a matter of fact. But they added a 20-minute interpretive dance dream scene that I think the writers of the thing would have lost their mind if they saw that. I about lost my mind. In fact, I about walked out because I thought it didn't fit at all. Come From Away was probably one of the most uplifting stories I've ever seen, because if you look at where we are in this country right now and how screwed up we are, and you look at that, you had 7,000 people you dump into a town with 7,000 residents, and they all come together to take these people into their homes and feed them and clothe them and shelter them and do everything to make them feel good during the 9/11 emergency in Newfoundland. Pretty amazing. And then Sound From Inside was a 2-person drama with Mary Louise Parker. 2 people on stage for 90 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Very deep story, very well acted. I don't want to talk about it because it's one of those things that as soon as I talk about it, I would give it away. But if you like a drama, an intense drama, it's a very good thing for you to go see.
Okay. Very cool. I think I mainly just wrapped up work and traveled this week. I didn't really have a chance to consume very much. Oh, though I did finish Watchmen. And we'll talk about this. We're going to have our 2019 entertainment podcast coming up for you at some point. But Watchmen is going to be very high on my list of most exciting entertainment experiences. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I think it's only going to be a 1-season thing, according to Lindelof, and I think that's perfect.
And now you've also seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well, which will also probably make my list somewhere on the film side.
Yes, and we'll go into more depth to that now. We've given everybody enough chance to go see that, but we'll talk about that when we do our show, which will be one of the next 2 or 3 shows that we do.
And maybe we'll do a full spoiler. We'll just stop at some point and just tell them from this point on, we're only going to talk about that movie because we have a lot of thoughts.
Yep. I had a couple food moments. I had unexpected pleasure of McGee's Irish Pub in New York. Very authentic Irish waiters, Irish servers, Irish barmaids. Outstanding food. So that was one. A new breakfast place called Sarah Beth's that I hadn't been to before, that somebody took us to. I thought that was really, really good as well. And then I had my proverbial steak dinner at Sparks last night. And again, phenomenal. I mean, I had a $250 gift card from the NBA, and I think our bill was $230. And we each had a glass of wine. That's the only alcohol that was consumed.
And I assume not heavy on the apps or desserts?
We had 2 desserts.
Okay.
And we had, I had a steak. Your mom had fish. We split a baked potato. We split broccoli. Mom had a salad. That was it.
Wow. And there wasn't gold on the dessert or anything crazy, I assume.
But interesting conversation because, Sparks, if you don't know, that's the place where Paul Castellano was gunned down on his way into the restaurant.
Oh.
And I was talking to one of the bartenders last night, and he said that the business from that point on is just spiraled up. Like last night, they were going to do 1,000 dinners between 5 and 9 o'clock. It's pretty impressive.
And I assume, like you said, you guys had salad, steak, piece of fish, baked potato, broccoli, 2 glasses of wine, and dessert. And that was a $220 meal.
True.
So you had 1,000 of those.
And we split 1 baked potato and 1 order of broccoli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you add in, 1,000 tables, and I'm sure there'll be a few more drinks and a few more apps and bigger steaks from time to time. It's quite a night.
I think our tab might have been on the low side.
Yeah, from what you described, I can't imagine that would be on the low side.
And lobsters, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 and up. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's an amazing place. But the bartender told us about there was another steakhouse in the area, and the guy saw the uptake in the business after the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And he said if he'd have known a murder was going to impact his business that much, he'd have killed somebody at his place, which I thought was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, obviously the food has to be there too, but I mean...
It is. I mean, the food's amazing.
Like we talked about Mosca's, which is down in New Orleans, where supposedly the Kennedy assassination, it was a mob-run place. Like, their food is great, but I mean, that's part of what makes you take the extra 20-minute drive to get there is the story and the history, and being like, wait, really? And then you want to see what the place looks like when they describe why they built it, where they built it, and the viewpoints from all 4 directions and all these different things that people could see who was coming, who wasn't coming. Like,
it's like anything else. If you have a story to go with the good food, like when Paul Dean first started out, he had the story about a woman whose husband abandoned her, and she and her sons, to try and make ends meet, would sell lunches, and then they started a lunchroom, and then started a restaurant. I mean, story always plays well.
But obviously you got to have the food.
But you got to have the food.
I didn't have a food moment specifically, and I think it might just be a Southern chain, but I had breakfast at Burger 21 at the airport. They have real eggs, and they crack them open and cook them. So that's just a little shout out to them, because that's not always the case at some of those restaurants.
True.
When you're getting the quick mini breakfast at the airport, but if you want a fast, cheap breakfast and you see Burger 21, they do actually crack their own eggs and make their eggs right there. So.
And I had breakfast today at Shake Shack, which I didn't know Shake Shack had breakfast. But I went in and I ordered my breakfast sandwich, and the woman said, "We like French fries with that." And I said, "Only if I can have a hamburger and a shake." And she laughed, but I had my breakfast sandwich, which was really, Shake Shack quality, was very good.
But they don't do burgers in the morning.
They don't do burgers in the morning.
Huh.
But they do French fries.
Okay.
That's their hash browns.
I mean, I guess technically it's a fried potato, whether you're talking hash brown. I mean, I know they taste different and for whatever reason, but yeah. I think that about wraps up today. Wish everybody happy holidays. You can see your families and friends and all that good stuff.
Yeah, our next show will be post-holiday, post-Christmas. So everybody, we wish you all the best, safe travels for those of you that are traveling. I hope you have a blessed day with family and friends. And enjoy a lot of sports on, so enjoy the sports. And we'll plan our show. We're going to start doing these best of shows for the next couple of weeks. So I hope you enjoy these.